Alright, what is up guys? Welcome back to another video. I'm going to try and keep this video as short and simple as I can, but pretty much all I want to talk about in this video is how to know when conditions aren't going to be favorable and when to avoid them. So I'm going to be using today's example for this video. It is Thursday, June 4th. If you're watching this, obviously in a later time, you may want to just go back to this and see for yourself. But what ended up happening was a lot of people ended up taking losses today, taking either a loss or a break even. And I ended up taking a simple winning day trade on my accounts. I took a little quick $200 day across the accounts, just get a winning day, especially in these low probability conditions. So I just want to give you guys a top down analysis of pretty much how I'm starting on the higher time frame, scaling down to figure out when it is probable to trade and when it isn't. So I just want to go to 9:30 over here. All right, so this is 9:30. So let's start on the higher time frame. Now, what do I mean by bad conditions? Bad conditions are when it's not favorable to trade your system. I know a lot of people don't trade the same way as I do. I'm assuming if you follow my videos, you trade a sort of similar strategy to me. It is pretty much continuations with obviously logic behind it. I'm not trading pattern trading continuations. I'm applying a lot of simple logic. So what is the first thing I'm looking for in this situation? I can see that what the markets are clearly ripping higher. I'm only looking for longs in this situation. I don't want to take shorts when it doesn't make sense. And a lot of people did end up going into this day right here looking for shorts. Now, also what I want to go before the top down analysis, why shorts didn't really make sense is, of course, we did have a really strong sell-off all through Asia, overnight session, through London session. We sold off almost 350 points. Now, I wasn't looking for shorts for the one reason what we had a strong sell-off all through overnight session. So we had a strong sell-off, and what do we sell off to? We sold off into a pretty strong 4-hour gap, which ended up taking out a bunch of prominent lows. All through last night, we pretty much ran through all of these stacked up lows right here, tapped into this massive 4-hour gap. We rejected it once, started flipping higher, and right back in market open, we started delivering back into this 4-hour gap. Now, just having a look at how the market has been trending, what have we been doing? We've been tapping into higher time frame PD arrays, either taking out prominent lows or edging them and delivering higher. This is honestly the most perfect example of it. Look, we take out this prominent low right here, tap into some sort of hourly gap right here. It was either an hourly, 4-hour, I don't give a shit. It was maybe a daily gap too. But again, swept the low, delivered higher. We took out, here's another example, a pretty prominent low. We edged it in this situation. Edged it in this situation. ES might have taken it. We took the prominent low on ES, I'm pretty sure, delivered higher. I bet you I can find more examples of this over here. Again, right over here, we ended up taking out prominent low, which was a strong wick in the market, reacting higher. So obviously just what I'm doing is applying market trend with my model. It doesn't really make sense for you to short in this situation. I would hope so, because again, I will keep explaining this topic over and over again because a lot of people don't seem to understand this, but we swept a bunch of prominent stacked lows right here, tap into a massive 4-hour gap. Does it make sense for us to continue to these lows over here? No. Can it happen? Of course it can happen, but what do I want to do? I'm not going to try and predict that that's going to happen. So simply scaling down even lower now, what do I see is, oh, look, we have an hourly gap, which we tapped into and started delivering off. So again, we have two higher time frame gaps. We are sandwiched in between. So if I can pull the path tool out over here, what did the markets do? We ended up selling off, taking out all of these lows right here, tap into this hourly gap, hold it, and start delivering lower. So looking back now, I'm assuming that's why a lot of people were looking for shorts, because we had sort of a higher time frame continuation lower. But again, continuations only make sense to targets. There really aren't any more targets lower. And as I said, of course, it could have happened that we did obviously sell off, but I'm not going to try and predict that this gap will end up getting disrespected. So if I wanted to see a sell-off, I would need to see some sort of strong candle close lower like this, like a really strong fucking candle lower. So again, the way to avoid these sorts of conditions is, number one, understand what the higher time frame is showing you. Do we have any targets to deliver to? In this situation, we don't really have any targets. Of course, since we are all at all-time highs, we do have our only viable targets really are higher price. So to me, anything higher really does make sense. But again, understanding that I am sandwiched in between two higher time frame gaps here, I need to see a clear break through them. So pretty much going into market open, I'm setting two conditions. I want to see price deliver lower, really strong. So I want to see price clearly rip lower right here, or I want to see price end up delivering higher with really strong displacement. These are my two conditions for the day. I'm going to sit on my hands until one of these end up happening. So let's scale even lower. So let's say this is market open, right? Okay, so market open ended up tapping into this hourly gap. Obviously, I did not scale short enough on a time frame. Market open was this down candle right here. We wick down, wick into the hourly gap, and start reacting lower. That is when a lot of people start looking for shorts. But again, as I told you, this does not meet any of my conditions. I want to see a strong close through this gap or this gap, because what do we know about fair value gaps? 90% of fair value gaps hold and get filled. So I need to see a clear break through those gaps before I end up making my decision on what I want to see in the day. So let's see. Do any of my conditions get met? We ended up going for about an hour. So a whole hour of market open, we ended up just bouncing in between these gaps. Now, let's ask ourselves, are my conditions met here? Are my conditions met? No, absolutely not. What am I seeing? We are literally just bouncing in between two gaps, so I am not going to trade. I don't care if we had a 5-minute gap tap with 1-minute displacement. I don't care that we're delivering out of an hourly gap lower. I don't care, because my conditions for the day was I need to see one of these gaps get broken through strongly before I decide to trade. So what ends up happening? We end up chopping around. Finally, we start getting decent volume higher. I'm now looking, okay, are we gonna start closing through this gap or not? Does that happen? Looks like we start holding the gap. Next thing I see is, okay, we are obviously clearly displacing higher. I really do think we might end up breaking through this gap. Let's also have a look for what ES was doing at this time. ES was pretty much, so yeah, look, ES did end up closing through the gap. What do I also know is assets like to follow each other. NQ, ES are both tradable together. ES is the top 500 tech companies. NQ is the top 100 tech companies. So both assets will follow themselves because they have the same companies in them. So clearly looking at ES is the more bullish pair. It broke through the gap. NQ will most likely end up following unless we created some sort of SMT, but obviously just staying patient, watching both pairs. So looking at what NQ ended up getting in this situation here is we end up creating a 15-minute gap. I'm going to close this hourly gap because it is a little confusing. But again, understand we have this hourly gap right here. 15-minute gap ends up getting opened up. I'm on the 5-minute looking for what ends up happening. We end up getting a pretty decent 5-minute reaction somewhere around over here. Where was it? Sorry, it was on the 15-minute, the reaction. So once again, hold the 15-minute gap, displacement out right over here. So we get a really nice retrace on the 15-minute. Now, where is ES at this time? Way past its hourly gap. It even swept previous day PM highs. So clearly seeing that we are finally starting to deliver. I'm looking for some sort of entry right here. So again, as I told you, conditions weren't the greatest today, so I wasn't looking to put risk on, especially considering this was the 12 p.m. candle close. It's starting to get into lunch hour. So on MNQ right over here, we ended up I ended up buying in for, I think it was 3 micros. Boom. Stop loss was somewhere around over here. Take profit was a little bit above. I don't remember exactly where, but again, super simple. Were my conditions met for this trade? Yes. ES broke through the hourly gap. NQ was following. We finally got confirmation to a displacement higher. There you go. And what was the way that I took this trade? Sorry, what was the way this trade was taken was simply from being patient. I was waiting for my conditions to be met. I didn't care that we started to look, we were flipping here because again, we're still stuck in a range. We're still holding both those gaps. So I'm not going to trade. If we were to chop around over here, I'm not going to try and chase a winning day when my conditions aren't met because it's honestly stupid. So simply again, being super patient led me to be able to take this trade right here and boom. And I honestly probably could have held it for a little more, but again, conditions were terrible. I wasn't looking to drain my mental capital on such a low probability day. I was just waiting to take a quick winning day, but that is really the end of the video. I know there was a lot of yap behind this. I do like to obviously go into deep depth with my videos with a lot of yap. If you guys do have any questions about this, please do feel free to reach out. My Discord is linked in my bio. I am in there answering questions all the time. Again, if you guys ever need any prop firms, I have my Alpha Futures code down below. And also Top 1 Futures is giving you guys 60% off your first straight to funded account. So if you don't like trading evals, you can always go with Top 1 Futures. They have straight to funding for 60% off. It's the cheapest in the market. And you can pretty much simulate a live account. Just trade how you would trade a live account. There's no winning days. There's nothing like that. You literally just trade every single day however you want. And I'll catch you guys in the next one.